the other thing he said, you know what, Linda, he also said, I don't really read many books on leadership because if I said to, and this is a very simplistic, I'm being a little bit unfair to, or a lot, to someone like John Cotter or Warren Bennis, but if I said to them, guess what, I have a vision, follow me, he said they'd go right out to the parking lot and go work for our competitor. They have no interest in following me anywhere, okay, none whatsoever. They have no interest in executing my vision. So that's not the game these people play. They want to co-create that future with you. So I'm in the mix, but it's not about me knowing, and they're learning and following. That's not the role here. And Bill is actually considered to be one of the greatest leaders ever at Bell Labs, and actually in Silicon Valley. And so when I asked Bill, would you please, he was talking to some executives for me, what would you tell them? First he said is, you know what, innovative work is voluntary. You cannot force anyone to innovate. It is voluntary work. So whenever you're thinking about leading innovation, you're leading a whole group of volunteers. Since these people participated in the IPO, they were truly volunteers. They were rich, many of them, right? But of the ones he was working with in his particular context. But no matter what, people forget these are volunteers. And then he came up with this craziness, you know, what advice? Be deliberately loose, vague, and fuzzy. I said they're going to be real glad to hear about that, you know. But it's interesting how many of the leaders said, many, many times when you must not give an answer, even if you think you have the right one, because you may not have the better answer, but it's hard work and they will depend on you too much. You're in the mix, you inquire, occasionally you might advocate for something, but fundamentally you want to make sure that you're aggregating viewpoints and that you're bumping them up against things, etc. So for him, innovation and really what we're saying, this is a kind of problem solving. It's innovative problem. There's nothing special about it. You're solving problems collaboratively, doing discovery-driven learning, and then you want to do that more sort of creative resolution, that integrated decision making. So there are these tensions embedded, and you will recognize some of these, Tiziana, from some other. We ended up having to add a couple as we actually looked at what was going on here and talking to the executives. But for sure, on the one hand, you're unleashing people's talents. And on the other side, you're harnessing to make sure they're useful. And the first two have to do with creative abrasion, the second two with agility, and the third two with resolution, just to tell you that. And you're constantly trying to balance this stuff a bit. So on the one hand, you want to be supportive, provide psychological safety so people will share. On the other hand, you've got to confront it, because if it's not useful, if it doesn't actually work, you know, if YouTube doesn't work on this, it doesn't work. So you need structure. You need to confront people with the realities of the problem or the opportunity they're trying to address. And similarly, you know, you have to be able to improvise. But if you don't have enough structure, the structure issues are really fascinating. There's a lot of work on what kinds of structures to have.